And welcome back once again to the world of Mark 1 Focuses, which most of you are desperate to see another video, I'm sure. Today, tyres. I just wanted to talk quickly about tyres. Now, tyres on any car, not just a Mark 1, it's very much up to the individual owner to say whether they feel that they're better or worse than the ones that have come off. Most of us, we replace tyres when they're at the end of their life, where they're cracked, balls, or you've just had a blowout, or the tread's just completely gone and it's failed the MOT. Usually that's when most people replace their tyres. If you were to place budget tyres on in that circumstance, whether it's 2 tyres, 1 tyre, 4 tyre, you might not see much of a difference, but you will see an improvement. Now the truth is, even with budget tyres, you will see an improvement in that circumstance. But are budget tyres the answer? No. Most people will say to avoid them like a shot. I personally have gone for budget tyres in the past, and I've always been left disappointed. But there are a variety of tyres that you can buy for Mark 1 Focus. And if you ask on the groups, most people will give you a good recommendation. If you've got an ST170 RS, you're going to want to go for the best tyres because they're going to make the most of the performance of the vehicle. But for every one of the cooking Mark 1 models, I wouldn't recommend premium tyres whatsoever. I think they're a total waste of money. They wear out so quickly because they are made of pure rubber compound. They're softer. So as soon as you start driving them, the tread is going to wear down like anything. I don't know any premium tyres that would last 6 years unless the car was seldomly used, which it might be if it's an RS. If it's an RS, it'll probably only go out to the odd track day, maybe the odd show, so maybe a different story. But the ST170, well, they're still in daily use from what I've seen, and it's fantastic to see so many still on the roads and still in daily use. Those cars, they'll go through those tyres before 6 years, well and truly. And the way the car is set up, of course you're going to drive it in a much more raughty and sporty manner. My driving style is the opposite. It's very relaxed, it's very old person style, and I don't go through tyres. In fact, the only pair of tyres that I've had to replace because they've actually worn down fully was when I actually bought my Mark 1 Focus when it was when I bought it when it was 11 years old, and it was on his second pair of tyres. And they were all gone. They were literally down to the tread within the first 12 months of ownership. So I had to replace them. But I've never gone through tyres because all my cars are relatively low mileage, and it is due to age rather than tread that I've never worn down the tread. But let's just have a look at the tyres, and I'm just going to show you a few things that you need to work out. And there she is, lovely car. There's a couple of things from the body shop that I wasn't particularly impressed with. Someone, I can't remember who it was, noted that if the body shop left the car in the mess that it did, he'd have refused to take it or take it back to them. I've got to be honest with you, the amount of work they had to do on this side, it was quite a lot of work, and I expected a lot of dust. But there was some things that I wasn't impressed by, and it was the second time I'd gone to them. And I've got a feeling that because they've now achieved my custom from the first job they did, which was that side, they haven't bothered as much on that side. I mean, the quality's still there, don't get me wrong, but the mess they left was ridiculous. The bumper was covered in overspray of paint, believe it or not, and I'm really cross about that, to be honest. There wasn't many things that really I was too bothered about, but just the state of the car was actually worse than I actually thought. It was only when I started going into the car and having a look inside the door struts. I mean, this was filthy, and this wasn't even the side they did. That side was even worse. So there was a few things that I wasn't particularly impressed by, but I just thought I would note that in. But the next time I go to them for some bumpers, because we've had some parking scrapes there in the past, I'll be making it very clear to them that I want the job not to be rushed, because I think that's what the problem was. They rushed it out the door before it should have been presented to a customer. So I think it's definitely worthwhile. If you've got a body shop like that, guys, if you've gone to them in the past, they've done a good job, then you've gone to them a second time and they've taken the mick and they've rushed it out the door because they know you. No, absolutely not. So I've had to do a little bit at the back here as well. But anyway, distractions. I thought I would go over that. But the quality is superb. There's just a few tiny little areas. I'm afraid Panther Black. This is the curse of Panther Black, ladies and gentlemen. You absolute bastard. I can see that from a mile off. It's just a tiny little bit of paint that didn't quite embed. I'm not going to send the car back to them for that. I'm not going to have them respray it all over again. It's the mess. I don't want him to do it again. The bonnet looks fantastic apart from that. It's really annoying, and I think most body shops, it is the way we paint. Even professionals can't get it right entirely, because that's how difficult paint is. And that's why I recommend you go to a painter. Don't try and do resprays yourself, because it never works out fine. It just ends up costing you time and money. But that is the curse of Panther Black. Also, this side, I'm not sure if you can pick it up on camera, but right in the centre of the door, yes, that stands out an absolute mile, because the rest of the car is so good. That's the problem. The better that Panther Black looks, the more that this car gets polished and resprayed and wet sanded, the worse those marks look. That mark, that bit of paint missing, that wouldn't have looked fine. That would have looked absolutely fine. It would have looked totally in keeping with the rest of the paintwork. But because it's been done to a high standard, you start noticing more and more bits that are wrong with it, and that is the curse of Panther Black. And I really do recommend this one thing with Panther Black before I go to the tyres. If you want a Mark 1 Focus and you've got OCD, don't buy Panther Black. It's an amazing colour, but sometimes I do regret buying this car with this paint. Just sometimes. I wish that this car was a different colour. Sorry, old girl, I don't mean to be offended, but you know, it's a bad curse. Anyway, tyres. Right, tyres. Now, this car is wearing 205 50 16s because I've got the 16 Z-Tech alloys with the smooth rim. If you've got the 15s, there's a bit of a lip, and they don't look quite as impervious in the wheel arch. These stand a little bit more proud. I'll just stand back a little bit, and they do stand up a little bit more, and I like it. And with these tyres, Ford insisted on 205 50 16s as the correct tyre size. However, top tip for those who've got them, you may not know this, or you may know this already, but if you want these tyres, you're going to have to fork out £80 a corner, because these, I tell you what, these are brilliant, and I'm going to come to this in a second. Roadstone Eurovis Zero Sport. So I'll just turn you around. Eurovis Sport 04. Okay, these are brilliant mid-range tyres, and I managed to get these for about £73 a corner. My local tyre shop did not supply them, but I asked them to get this particular make, and they got it, and they gave me a good price, and that is a good price for these. These are a great mid-range tyre. In fact, if you go on the tyre review websites, they will rate them pretty much the highest mid-range tyre that has been highly rated. And for a Mark 1 Focus, this is the #1 tyre you go for, regardless of whether it's a 16-inch, a 15-inch, or a 14. Roadstone Eurovis 04, they will supply tyres in all the standard Mark 1 sizes. It's the #1 recommendation, guys, and that's to start off with. I really wouldn't recommend any other tyre, but please don't get 205 55s on these 16s. They look too tall. I know they're cheaper and more widely available. There's a lot more manufacturers of these. Luckily, Roadstone Eurovis Sport 04, they do make them in this tyre size, hence why I've got them fitted to the car. But often with these correct tyres, I reckon there's only about 6 or 7 decent manufacturers. There are no budget manufacturers. There's a couple of premium manufacturers, and there's a couple of mid-range, and this is one of them. So do some research, guys, but this is the one you go for if you've got the 16 inches. This is the one you go for if you've got a 14 or 15-inch one. It's as simple as that. The 14-inch tyres that you get on the Steelies, they're much more cheaper tyres, as you can imagine, and much more, you can get them in budget ranges, etc. But there's a few names on Mark for tyres for Mark 1s down the years. People have tried quite a few ones. Tyre manufacturers, we could talk about Michelin. We could talk about Goodyear. Goodyear F1 Eagle tyres, I believe that's what they're called. They are the highest rated tyre for Mark 1 Focus. And a lot of owners have actually said really good things in the past. But the truth is, people used to fit those sort of tyres to these cars when they were brand new, when they were relatively new cars, and people could stomach the financial cost of these tyres. And tyres were cheaper back then, far cheaper than the cost of inflation these days. But now these cars have got to an age where they've got numerous amount of problems. Okay, these cars are not cheap cars to run if you want to look after them. And therefore, when it comes to a tyre change, it's a little bit more of a compromise between price and getting a decent tyre that will give you at least 6 years of comfort if you want to own your Mark 1 long term. If you don't, well, that's a different story. You're more inclined to chuck a load of budgets on the car because you're not going to own the car in a couple of years. But this video is mainly for people that want to keep theirs in the long term, and I would suggest going for a decent mid-range tyre, which is a compromise between the quality, wear, but price. I really wouldn't think that going for a premium tyre, either a Goodyear F1 Eagle or a Michelin tyre or Dunlop SP. There's a few other names really, Pirelli Cinturato P1s. They're actually quite good on Mark 1s, but they're all £120 or 110 maybe if you're lucky. And even for mine, I couldn't justify it. And that's why I did a load of research and I went for these. Roadstone Eurovis, number 1. But there are a few other mid-range tyres that you can get. We've got Nexen, a Nexen Blue and Ferreira. They are good tyres. There's also a couple of other Nexen tyres. Falcon tyres are brilliant. Honestly, who hasn't put a Falcon tyre on their Focus and discovered that actually it handles like rails? I think a Falcon tyre might be just slightly better than this in some circumstances. There's a good few options here, so I would take your time and do a bit of research. For this, the element of this video, I can't talk about budget tyres, but there is something I'm going to show you which is a warning. Now this is a 16-inch wheel that has been given to me as a spare by a lovely man called Adam, and he knows who he is. And the wheel is in really good condition. I mean, actually, it's probably a comparison to the ones that I've actually got on the car. But it comes with a very good tyre. Or is it? Well, we've got a WL905, and I know exactly what this is. It's an Event tyre. Event WL905. Go and look the Google reviews on this, guys. I had one of these tyres. It is the correct tyre, by the way. It's a 205/50/16, the correct tyre, but, oh my God, this tyre is 10 years old, would you believe it? It's gone really hard, but the tread is still there. There's no cracking in it, so it's been stored a long time. But one top tip, don't ever buy this tyre. I had one of these on one of my old ST170 alloys that I refurbed, and believe you me, this tyre was dangerous. I actually had it on the front of the car once, and the only time that I've ever lost control of this car was when that was on the front and I took a corner, not even that quickly, in the wet. I lost it completely, and it takes a lot to lose a Mark 1, believe you me, but it doesn't if you've got budget ditch finders, and I've got a problem with budget ditch finders. Do you know what? Budget tyres are absolutely fine on very low powered classic cars because you're never going to get them to the performance where the tyres are going to be overstretched, or very rarely. But on a car that are like a Mark 1 Focus, they're not exactly the fastest things in the world compared with what has come after this car, but they still pack a punch, and you still need to be very aware about this. So despite how good the Mark 1 is, budget tyres are an absolute no-no. I actually put that Event tyre on the back wheel because it was so bad, and then it just stuck there. I don't know what I had on the front. It was something even worse, actually. It was someone had just put budget tyres on all 4 of them wheels, and I never actually got round to changing the tyres. I actually ran them as low as I could and kept them for as long as possible, and then I sold it to some bloke who put them on his Gear Y-Reg a couple of years ago. Maybe he's even watching this, I don't know. But yeah, that's the top tip. No budgets. mid-range tyres. I don't think you can go wrong with a lot of tyres, to be honest with you. There's a few other brands that I haven't really mentioned. Kumho tyres are really good. I've got them on the Rover 45 and they're about 8 years old and they're still looking really good. And you can get them in this tyre size, or you can get them for the standard 15s and 14s. The ST170 17-inch wheels, you can get all sorts. There's a couple of Firestone tyres that are pretty decent. You know, at the end of the day, that's the main thing. Now, a couple of tips really. Main thing is just check your tyres every so often. The main thing I tell people is to check for bulges. Not just on the outside, you have to go on the inside and check for bulges on the other side, okay? Obviously, I mean, I've got some minor cracking as well. These tyres are almost 2 years old, but I'm starting to get a little bit of minor cracking. But that's usual even on mid-range tyres. Oh, there is one make of tyre I have to be very aware about. Avon tyres. Don't buy them. Please don't buy Avon tyres. They're rubbish. They literally crack. They literally crack, those Avon tyres, prematurely. It's a big problem with them. Don't go for them. They're quite expensive as well. But anyway, apart from checking for bulges and cracks, and there's no rule of thumb. You can keep your tyres on the car for longer than 6 years. I've never changed tyres at 6 years old unless the treader's gone, and that never happens for me. But just a little bit of a tip there. Roadster and Eurovis Sport 04, they are the best tyres to go for on a Mark 1. Anyway, I'm going to leave you here with this just mini episode, and you take care. I will see you very soon. Just a mini top tip. I'm going to take this to a car show in a few days. Always do tyre pressure. So the tyre pressure should be about 32 psi. I know it's a bit different if the car is heavy laden, but just screw it on. That's not bad at all, just a few psi. No, that's it. There you go, guys. That is all you need to do. There we go. Lovely. Check your tyres all round. Tyre pressures, low tyre pressures cause overheating, especially on motorway and long distance driving. Number one cause of tyre blowouts. Not necessarily the age of the tyre, but the tyre pressures. Take care. Right, let's get in. Oh, well, that's a good start, isn't it? Let's get the jump starter out.